Now, here are some of the pictures that you sent in to us on that portal. All right, first is this image from Magboro in Ogun State of a site where toxic materials are said to be dumped. Residents are afraid the chemical, which is emitting a bad smell, could pollute the underground water source that supplies water to the neighborhood. Now, residents are calling on relevant authorities to save the situation. Related to that is this picture, which our eyewitness reporter says is the burning of toxic hospital waste in a government hospital in Umuahia. Residents are calling on those concerned to find other means of disposing hospital waste in Abia State. And lastly is this image of corps members undergoing INEC training in Eket, Akwa Ibom State in preparation for the elections. We'd like to thank you so much for sending in your pictures, and do remember that you too can report happenings around you. Let's move on now. The chairman of the National Human Rights Commission, Professor Chidi Odinkalo, has asked Nigerians to speak up for victims of gender-based violence. Addressing a gathering in Abuja, Professor Odinkalo observed that cases of rape, battery and jungle justice continue to increase in the country, owing to the attitude of many Nigerians who would rather keep quiet than hand over perpetrators of such crimes to the police. He called for the establishment of forensic laboratories to check the increase of gender-based violence.
No more news that 1 out of every 3 women has undergone one form of gender violence or the other. What may be news at this time is how many Nigerians shield perpetrators of such crimes. This is the reason behind this event organized by Women Arise Initiative, as Nigerians from all walks of life expressed their feelings on the issue.
This thing has to stop. The kind of thing I saw today cannot happen. And the people who do it must be held to account in every way we can, by shaming them, by prosecuting them, by administrative procedure, by making sure they don't hold public office, by making sure that they no longer sit in front of the churches. It's not just by sending people to jail that we do punishment. There are lots of ways we can do punishment, and we should exact accountability in the ways we can. Prosecution is okay. If we can't get it, there are many other ways.
But how well has the nation's laws and enforcement agents protected victims of gender violence over the years? Speakers at this event proposed stiffer penalties for offenders.
The need for us to sanction. Our actions have shown that a society cannot grow and develop without us taking appropriate action, and really at the end of the day it is about enforcement and sanctions. If people can get away with crime, if people can get away with violence against young people, then I think that society has a lot to answer for.
We all saw what was projected this morning, the way that we have had colossal waste of lives, jungle justice. We cannot allow this to continue. So there comes a time in the life of any nation where people should rise in unison to say enough is enough.
While these Nigerians promise to speak against the consequences of gender-based violence with a strong voice, it is expected that with increased campaigns, issues of violence against vulnerable persons will reduce in the country.
And given the political situation in the country as regards the postponement of the 2015 elections, Nigerian women gathered in Abuja to pray for peace in the country. Our correspondent Omelogo Nnadi, who covered the Nigerian Women Pray event, reports that the women are worried about the impact the postponement will have on the democratic process.
They gathered from different denominations, all Christian women with one purpose, to pray with one voice in supplication to the Most High for peace in Nigeria and unity now and after the elections. Their songs of praise and worship, prayers and gospel for the day are all centered on the elimination of violence, especially in the northern part of the country, peace and security. The postponement of the elections to March, they say, has been a source of worry for many Nigerians, giving them cause to pray that peace reigns above all.
This country is God's own project. He will see us through. There's a lot of fear in the country right now. Uncertainty about tomorrow. I want to assure them nothing will happen. Nigeria will remain one, but we need to pray it out. God's will for this country is that we remain one. God's will for this country is that there will be peace. And everything He has willed for us will surely come to pass.
We want the election to be peaceful. We want our country to be healed. And we want to live in a peaceful Nigeria.
These women say they know there is much that need be done for peace to reign. They are, however, confident that with prayers and supplication, a lot can be set right. Omelogo, Nadi Channels Television News.
62 billion naira has been spent in road infrastructure in the Anocha local government area of Anambra State in the past 8.5 years. And that's according to the Anambra State Governor, Mr. Willie Obiano, who was on a campaign tour of Anocha local government area. He flagged off the 4-kilometer Akweze Adazi Road and promised that his administration will not abandon any ongoing project.
This visit by Governor Willie Obiano to Akweze in Anocha local government area is part of the campaign tour of the All Progressive Grand Alliance to all the local government areas of the state. But this time, the governor used the opportunity to flag off this 4-kilometer Akweze Adazienu road. The governor also flagged off the Neni Mpota Adazi road.
The construction of Anocha local government area headquarters, Neni to Mpota Adazi road. This road is 1.2 kilometers in length and it's going to be finished in 8 months and it's costing us about 300 million naira.
Flagging off of these roads is not all that the governor has come to do in Anocha local government area. He also used the opportunity to campaign for the president.
We are supporting the president 100%. On the election day, you will get 3 ballot papers. Thumbprint on the umbrella for the presidential election. After which, quickly clean your thumb and then thumbprint on the ABGA logo for the National Assembly elections.
Although he pledges support for the president, the governor also asked the people not to forget their loyalty to ABGA in the state.
Well, 4 communities have benefited from the free healthcare services initiated by the Uche Ekwunife campaign organization. The 4 communities are getting medication to tackle health conditions like hypertension, diabetes, malaria, arthritis, and rheumatism. In appreciation, the members of the community say they'll give Mrs. Ekwunife their total support to achieve her senatorial ambition.
Gathered here are the people from Enugu-Agidi, Umunnachi, Nri, and Okpuno communities in Anambra State. They have benefited from the free medical services initiated by Mrs. Uche Ekwunife campaign organization. They have been diagnosed and treated for hypertension, malaria, diabetes, arthritis pain, and rheumatism.
She did great work in this town. She repaired our roads. She put a borehole. She gave us a light and so many other things.
My duty is to go back and converse with people.
Mrs. Ekwunife's legacy also reached traders in the communities. She promised them better trading environment if they support her and the PDP in the forthcoming elections.
That we will be on the side of Jonathan, that the
campaign tour for the day rounded off with a meeting with Orca Development Union Women Wing.
And while the elections dominate public spheres, some government officials have cautioned that certain issues should not be reduced to campaign tactics. Speaking in London recently on electricity, the Minister of Power, Professor Chinedu Nibo, told journalists that generation is beyond 4,000 megawatts, regardless of contrary speculations. But consistent power supply will take years to attain, regardless of the administration in power. Our London correspondent Doris Okemwa reports.
At a recent meeting with Nigerians in London, the Minister of Power, Professor Chinedu Nibo, insists that the current threshold of power generation in the country is above 4,000 megawatts of electricity, but decried the spate of sabotage on gas pipelines, restricting further progress. Moving forward, he says, however, requires alternatives that can support the national integrated power projects, some of which take at least 4 years to materialize. The same goes for transmission. Responding to expectations of 24-hour electricity supply,
can't get 24/7 everywhere in Nigeria. Like I said, if you wanted to do exactly what South Africa is doing now, you need 160,000 megawatts. Nobody can do that. And the cost per megawatt, just on the average, because of the mixture of gas, hydro, solar, wind, and everything, minimum will be about 2 million. So what you're talking about is 3.2 trillion dollars.
Oyin Anubi, Sub-Sahara Africa economist at the Bank of America in London, explains how power currently impacts on the nation's economic outlook internationally.
On average, when we look at the data, not having a reliable power supply can add up to 40% to the cost of doing business. This is a real problem for Nigeria, and in the current economic climate we're seeing, where oil is falling, the Naira is depreciating and imports are becoming more expensive, you can really see the cost of not having a viable manufacturing sector.
So in the light of these challenges then, how have you been able to sell Nigeria to would-be investors?
I think a lot of investors were happy just to see the power process start, so the reform process start. Some of the assets were taken out of government hands and into the private sector.
British-born but of Nigerian descent, she admits that several visits to the country reveals the difficulties many citizens have to grapple with.
That I think is very disruptive, not only to business but to everyday life, and it's something that Nigerians shouldn't have to face every day. So I hope that this power reform process means that Nigeria can leave this sort of experience with power and lack of electricity.
While waiting for the big plans to materialize, it is clear that small incentives, other alternatives, must be considered. Doris Okemwa, Channel Television News, London.
When the news at 10 returns, Nigeria's forex reserves declined by over $700 million in 1 month. That's on Business News. Do join us again.